Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for February 28th, 2017. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We still continue to hold at highs after the recent rally. That's how this market has pretty much progressed recently, is basically pushing higher and then either holding at highs or seeing a modest pullback before another continuation higher. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We've seen a recent rally, and now we're seeing mostly a sideways pattern here. Little one-day pullback, little pullback here, but for the most part, it's just gone up and sideways, up and sideways. And that's kind of what's happening right now. So very difficult to really get in at a favorable trade location here unless we see more of a pullback. It's been very difficult here. So you have to really be careful and cautious about where you're entering the market. Obviously, if you're rejecting off the previous week's high, the typical implication would be that you come down and test the previous week's low price. This is not a typical market, however. This has been a very unidirectional, very highly bullish market. And so pullbacks of this magnitude have been very few and far between. So most of the time when we've seen pullbacks, we've seen a continuation overall to the upside. So any pullback we see to whatever degree could be a great buying opportunity. However, at the moment, it's very difficult to buy near highs here, and instead some sort of pullback could be a greater buying opportunity on a swing basis. On an intraday basis, let's take a look at the intraday time frame for a moment. What you'll notice here on an intraday basis is that after we've seen the recent pullback here, the previous session's high right here at 2370.75, so it hit 2370 here, double tops, pullback. By the end of the day, it came up and took that high out. That was the overnight high, and then pulled back. So now we have a high here, 2370.75. We've got the previous week's close right here at 2364.5, and that's kind of the range right now, short term. So that's your short-term range to watch. Overall, we can't do business in this range for long. It's very small. So it'd be a fade the edges with an upward bias at the moment. The best spot here to watch would be somewhere near 2361. If price were able to push down toward S3 and the previous session's low here, that could be an opportunity to bring it back toward 2370. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. From a higher time frame perspective, crude oil has also been rather quiet for the most part. We're holding near the upper end of the larger trading range. So we've had a range that is formed basically from 51 to 55 now, and we're sitting up in the upper half of the range, trading between 54 and 55. So very tightly coiled pattern here, 55 on the high. You see kind of higher lows here coming in, 51s being kind of near that low. So this has been mostly the range here, and we're only trading in the upper portion of this range over the last week. So it's been very difficult for, again, a swing basis to do anything here. On an intraday basis, there have been a couple of moves here, but again, it's been very difficult. Once we do get outside this range, say below 53.5, that could push this thing back toward 51.67 to 51.71. That might be another opportunity to bring it back toward 55s. So that's kind of the swing idea right now. If we drop down to the intraday time frame, you can see a little bit of the levels that we're watching right here heading into the day. And right now, the previous week's close is very important. That's this level right here. That's 54.02. And you can see prices holding below the previous week's close and below the previous session's close. Should price pop back above 54.10, that could be another return back toward recent highs at 54.60. A nice LVN at this area, that would be another opportunity to fade it back down. The current trading range, 53.75 to about 54.60. That's the range to watch and follow at the moment. So again, if price were to drop down toward this low and start to find a rejection, that could be an opportunity to fade it back toward 5-day VPOC, 54.37. All right, let's take a look here at GC. GC on a higher time frame basis finally reached our longest target that we had kind of on the board here. This was the highest target from the low. We were very cautious about the return from these lows because we had seen a very bearish move. But once price was able to reestablish above 45s and continue to work toward higher targets, we became increasingly more bullish, and we were looking for a completion of the recent move into MCVPOC here, that's 1263.20. We finally reached it in the previous session. So it was a long time coming here. It was a very nice aggressive push to the upside. Every pullback was defended, and recently we finally reached value. A rather significant rejection was seen there, and we've seen a pullback, but all pullbacks have been buying opportunities. So we could see more strength here. The big level to watch on a swing basis is 1245s. If price were to drop into 1245, expect responsive bulls on a higher time frame basis to come in and defend, and that could lead to another rotation toward 1268 and perhaps even higher. Failure to hold 1245s could lead to a return back toward recent support, and that's between 1220 and 1221. Here's what it looks like on an intraday basis. So far, again, we've seen a big rejection of prices above 63s. This is what it looks like. Here's 1263. Price rallies above it and then a hard sell back down. That's what it looks like when price finally reaches a major area of value. Those bulls got paid, and then this is profit taking. These are additional bears coming into the fin, and you see this thing move downward. So right now, the big level to watch here is going to be 1261.20. Right? There's a nice LB in there. If price rallies into that area, bears are going to want to defend that zone and keep prices above that area offered for a return back to lows. That would start to put a little bit of a top here short term in the trade. Again, remember 1245 on the bottom end is where bulls want to come in to redefend. You can see a major LV in this zone as well. So right in here, nice LV in. If price were to come into the 1245, that would be a big swing target to defend for bears or for bulls. All right, lastly, let's take a look at the NQ. The NQ has been very, very bullish here. Overall, the higher time frame has been very vertical, pushing straight up. And recently, we've seen this thing kind of form a little bit of a holding pattern, a little bit of a pullback. You can see here, after a big push up, we've seen kind of a similar pattern here develop. You know, you see a big push up, you kind of see a multi-day pullback here. And then price forms a rejection tail. Look at this midpoint retest where it holds. That's right around this zone, and then it tore higher. So right now we've seen the pullback. We've seen this thing hold, say 52.81s, and right now overall getting back above 53.60 will start to push this thing much, much higher. Overall, this thing has not seen much of a pullback to speak of at all. And this is about as much as we've seen. So any push beyond 53.60 will start to spark this thing much higher into that 54.42, which is our next upside target. Failure to hold 52.80 could rotate this thing back toward 5200, but again, any pullback of that magnitude could still be an opportunity to defend and return this thing higher. Until we see a significant blow off top or rejection signature at these highs, we're going to continue to plot higher. All right, let's take a look here at the intraday time frame to wrap this thing up. On an intraday basis, right now we have a very, very, very narrow overnight range. 53.40.75. The high right now, 53.49. Less than a 10 handle range for the NQ heading into, with an hour and 45 minutes heading into RTH. That's super, super tiny. You're likely going to see both sides of the range tested. Whenever you have that narrow of a range, you typically see the top tested, then you come down and test the bottom, and you could see it fade the edges early on. Overall, we've been trending up. Again, if this thing starts to push through recent highs at 53.60, this thing could see much more strength to the upside toward 5400. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this thing plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.